start with your exams. We'll still have proper sufficient feedback. I'm still marking your assignments, so don't stress. You'll get proper feedback. I think it's going to be very impractical for us to provide individual feedback, but the comments obviously that are made, I make sure that there are sufficient comments and feedback in your assignment, and obviously we'll give you access to that once it's been moderated. But I'll give general feedback in class as part of your exam preparation on both your formal test as well as your assignment to help you prepare. That's the main purpose. We should be finished with everything tomorrow. It leaves us 3 periods next week, Thursday and Friday, to do the final wrap up and do revision. And I'm obviously going to encourage you to go through the work, and if you have not by now highlighted certain concepts and aspects and certain chapters that you are find maybe we should spend more time on or revisit it as part of the revision, we'll do that. So please guide me to ensure that you get proper preparation for your exam. As I've said previously, and we have also identified that it is very important in marketing as well. If the customer doesn't tell you something is wrong, then you know what you don't know what to fix. So if you have certain issues, please share and tell us, and we'll address it. Anybody at this stage, any contributions? Apart from hi, good morning, and welcome to the rest of the class.
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Of course.
I would like to just find out. So I went onto Canvas the other day, and I noticed that one of our marks that was there is now being put up as missing. So so far, we had a test out of the 45, which is the one that was completely missing. We never received those marks. Then we had a test out of 30, which we did receive marks for, and it was showing.
It's just a class test.
Yeah. So, and then we had 1 out of 20. So the 1 out of 30 is now saying missing as well. That one's gone where it was there before. So now
Mika, I can just do, and everybody that has joined the session, I'll give you general feedback on that. We have experienced some technical issues on Canvas the last couple of days. I did not sleep on Tuesday evening because some students registered late on the course, and they had to write a different formal test. They wrote that on Monday, so I went in on Tuesday just to check and see if they did. And obviously I need to mark it and get it off to the moderator so the students can get feedback. It wasn't on your course, but that was the first time I became aware of it. And it was missing. The 3 were there that wrote on Monday, but none of the students, the other 30 plus that wrote a month ago, was on there. And I didn't sleep. I went, where did it go? So I went to the first thing on Wednesday morning. I went to the technical division, and we sat down. We sorted that with Canvas. Apparently, I wasn't the only one. There's a number of similar experiences that other lecturers have had in the last couple of days. So it's not that it's nothing. You're not going to repeat the test or anything. It's just a question of technical issues that we are aware of and that we're sorting out as they pop up. Basically, it was a shock to me, but a great relief as well that it's not gone. It's somewhere in cyberspace, and yeah, they fortunately got it, and I think it was a relief more than anything else. So yeah, we are aware of it. It does show sometimes that it's missing. I know that it's not it's sometimes because it hasn't been published yet, so it's not available for you to view. But then also I know that yeah, I've had a personal experience where that wasn't the case. It was something else. But yeah, Mika, I'm aware of it, but there's no alarm. None of you have to be alarmed about what you see. Okay, don't let that affect your learning process at the moment. You are aware of it, and we're attending it as it pops up. I thought I had a similar experience this morning again, and I thought, okay, right, no, let me go through the steps that they showed us yesterday, the help desk, and yeah, the problem was sorted. I'm not exactly sure what the origin is and where and how, but yeah, it's been clarified and it's been resolved. Right. No, who was that?
Don't know. So, so then last question that I wanted to ask is, what chapters must we study for our exam? Because we've gone through a lot of chapters, so it's a little bit like overwhelming. Is it kind of everything that we've done so far? We must just study every single chapter, or?
Miko and everybody else, the correct answer to that question is every single chapter that you have covered will in some form appear in the exam. However, I think you've figured out previously with other assessments and other modules, and even during your years at school, that the new work obviously is covered in a greater percentage. To be honest with you, if you ask me now what the percentage is of new work that was not covered in the formal test, what the percentage is that's in the exam that covers those chapters, I don't know. I'll have a look, but again, as I said, it's all chapters obviously need to be prepared. I'm not. It's not the answer that most of you wanted to hear, but unfortunately, yeah, the entire curriculum and all the learning outcomes are covered with over the chapters that we've done, and they are all evaluated and assessed in your exam. When we do the final exam preparation, I'll go through in greater detail, but I think the important thing is to answer your question or summarize my answer to your question, you have to study all the chapters. Some chapters, the newer chapters that you have not been assessed on in the formal assessment or formal test, will obviously be viewed differently because we have not assessed you on that work. But there's no chapters that's excluded, unfortunately. Yeah, that's just the nature of the beast.
Okay, thank you. So would you be able to perhaps just make a short list of the chapters that we have done? Because I know we skipped some and we have done the chapters before previous chapters and things. So it gets a little bit complicated for us to go back and try and figure out which ones we've done, which ones we haven't.
Of course. What I'll do is, and we'll discuss that when we'll discuss that. So we can discuss it tomorrow. Or we can leave it till next week. What I've done with all the other groups, the second and the third years have already, they've already got their study week next week because they started earlier than you, in February already. So what I've done for them is we discussed it in class and we agreed that an additional revision session, sort of a final exam preparation, if everybody agrees to it, will be done in the study week. It's not, as I said, it's not on your timetable. I just felt, you know what, if we finish next Friday, then you've got a study week, and then you only write your exam the following week or the end of the following week. There's a lot of time that has lapsed since, and then sometimes students obviously are not necessarily in the right, correct mindset for this particular module because they're focusing on doing revision on other modules that they write prior to this one. So I'm going to, with the group's consent, I'm going to schedule such a session. We'll discuss tomorrow on exactly what day and date in your study week, because remember, there won't be other classes, so it could be any time during the day. I will post an announcement. In the announcement, I will give you a summary of the date, the time, duration of the exam, the chapters that are covered, and I'll also include a different link, because that will be in a different session, to that specific session, as well as a breakdown of what to expect in the exam and the emergency contact numbers that you via WhatsApp phone number as well as email, should there be any technical interventions, load shedding, for instance, happening during the time that you're writing your exam. Because during your formal test that you wrote, during the formal test that was wrote earlier this year, or earlier this semester, you had the entire day available to you to do that. For the exam, the decision has been taken by management that there are certain time slots. You saw that on your timetable that you received. I think your exam is, I know it's on the 30th of June, if I can remember correctly. And I think the time slot is
28th.
28th. Why do I think it's 11 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon? So there's a 4-hour window period, and it's purely for security reasons. Because, I mean, if you write your test online this morning and you have coffee with your friend at lunch, you can discuss the paper, and that person might not have written the paper yet, okay, or done the online quiz yet. So it's purely for that specific reason. I got confirmation from the student council as well, because they were part of the discussion when those decisions were reached. So there is a specific time slot. I will include that in the announcement to make sure that that particular session is set up, and that you know where to go to and what to do if all of a sudden there's load shedding. Because we started off with load shedding level 2 this morning, and it became level 3 since 8 o'clock, and who knows what the rest of the day entails. So that is the current agreement, and I just would like it to be formalized in an announcement on Canvas, so everybody has access to it. I trust that we can reach an agreement like that with a. I would feel more comfortable if we have a session. That's despite the fact that I'm available throughout the study week as well as your exam period for via email if you want to chat to me with specific issues that you have when you're going through certain chapters and you are battling with certain concepts. Okay, so the support from our side, from my side, does not cease next Friday when we have our final session.
So I wanted to ask, with regards to the load shedding, I'm
Yes.
not sure if you've answered this, but I just wanted to know, so but what happens if, let's say now you do have load shedding during that time slot, but it's not something you could have prepared in advance? Because, for instance, you can be in the middle of the day and they can decide to change it from level 2 to level 4, and then you all of a sudden have load shedding, but now you haven't made arrangements to go and take the test anywhere else and that kind of thing. So it is a little bit like stressful.
I know, because I mean that's the last thing that you want to worry when you actually sit down for your exam. Mika, I don't have an official answer that I can give you with authority. I will check and I'll make sure that before we have our session next week, to give you that feedback as to put your mind at ease as what exactly to do. Because I know it's fine, there are contact numbers and emails, but now what happens, and you want to know if there's an interruption, how does that affect your exam? Is it going to be rescheduled? Are you going to do it later in the day when the power's on again? I actually don't know how that's going to happen, but I'll make sure that I'll get the information and share it with you as a group before we finish our next week.
Okay, thank you, sir. Because like the other day we had 8 hours straight of load shedding, which wasn't meant to happen because
wasn't meant to happen. Or they then come back on. They say that it's only off between 4 and 6, and they only come back on at 8. So and yeah, I know that those logistical challenges are enormous. And we are obviously aware of it, and I'm pretty sure that management has a plan in place. But I'll make sure that I get that information for you and share it with the entire group. I'll put that in an announcement as well. Then you can go back to it if you've maybe missed the session for whatever reason. Okay. Good. I've decided to do this chapter, the final chapter, chapter 15. People up to this point in marketing, we've only dealt with products. Remember, we did products the other day, and its prices, and it's basically the 4 Ps of the marketing mix that we've covered extensively through individual chapters. But how do we market services? Because they are distinctly different. And this chapter, the slideshow is 38 slides, but I've made a very clear distinction as to where the curriculum stops. Okay, so I haven't deleted all the slides. I wanted to give you the slides for the entire chapter, but it's very clear up to what point you have to study for in this particular chapter. Okay, I'll cover that in class today, but you will very much you'll see as well where the curriculum stops, just to make sure that you know what to do from this particular chapter. Right, services marketing. It's pretty much how do you market a service. Now, firstly, let's start off. We can obviously give you proper definitions, like a service is something that's an act or a task that's performed, and not necessarily a product that you can actually buy and take possession of. In a nutshell, that's basically what a service is. Give me some examples, people, of services that, or give me some examples of businesses that you think are services, and we can clarify that, because that's what we're going to do during the session today. Give me the number of examples of some services, please. Any service you can think of.
So
Yes.
maybe like housekeeping. So like you get people from a company, they have workers who come over to your house and just like clean whatever you requested.
Yes, excellent example. They perform a specific service, and you pay for it because it's convenient for you. You maybe, and a lot of people do. One of my colleagues, his car was wrecked yesterday, and he decided he's not going to buy a new car. He's actually going to rent a car every month. I mean, the installment is going to be slightly cheaper, and yeah, he doesn't want to go through that trouble. But anyway, similarly to that, people do not have the time. They either now, or they've made their decision already and said, listen, if I add up all the cleaning detergents and all the vacuum cleaners and brooms and mops and whatever I need to have, you know what? I might as well just get somebody in to do that for me on a regular basis. Other possible services you can think of? I'll expose you to more services as we progress through the chapter. But yeah, on the screen you've got an example of an airline. I mean, you buy a ticket to fly from Cape Town to Johannesburg, then it's a service that's provided by whatever airline you decided to fly on, and it's not your plane, it's not your airline, and it's not your seat. You just have a temporary use of that specific service that they deliver to get you from Cape Town to Joburg. And we'll go into more detail just now to see how do we categorize, or how services and products differ, and based on that we obviously have to modify our marketing strategies accordingly. Now, the 5 characteristics that differentiate services from products, and we'll deal with each of these individually, is intangibility, inseparability, perishability, heterogeneity, and ownership, or actually the lack of ownership. As I said, we'll deal with that individually in slides to come. I just want to also expose you to, and some of this is not in your textbook. I added some of it because it will just give us a better understanding of this particular subject. Right. What the tangibility spectrum basically means is that products and services are different, and the greatest difference is the tangibility of products. The fact that a product you can pick up, you can taste it, you can smell it. Basically, you can use all your senses to make a decision if you want that product, if you need to buy that product, which is not possible with services. You can't go to a doctor or a dentist. That's also a service. Okay, it's performed by a professional at proper training, and they are providing the service of attending to your health. You can't just go there and say, listen, doc, I mean, let's just try this out and see how it goes, or go to the hairdresser, which is another example of a service, and then say, listen, do you mind? I'm not sure if I want to actually use your services permanently, so just cut my hair I won't pay you for that. And then if I like it, I'll return it, and next time I'll pay you, kind of thing. No, it doesn't work like that. So, however, the distinction, to put it into a visual, like a diagram that you have on the screen, hopefully makes you, hopefully helps you to categorize products and services better. On the left-hand side of the image, we have our pure products. Now that is a desk, a table, a actual item, the phone itself, not Vodacom was providing the service. The phone, it's something, as I said, that you can touch, it can that you can smell, and use all your senses to access to. On the right-hand side of the continuum, you've got your pure services. Now, for instance, teaching, or a doctor, for instance. Yes, doctors have tools that they use, and teachers have tools that they use, but their skill that they have been taught to equip them with that particular, or to equip them as a teacher or a dentist or a doctor or a hairdresser, for instance, is the essence of what the task that is performed. They have tangible products that they need to use in the process of delivering the service, but by definition, the task that they perform is that of a service that that you cannot buy off a shelf. Okay, right in the middle, and as I said, I'm just going to try and pick for you to get a better picture of what these different categories are. Right in the middle, you find what we call hybrids. Now, hybrid is partially service, partially product. It's, for instance, like a restaurant. A restaurant, we go to a restaurant because we get the food prepared and delivered to us, and it provides us with that convenience of not having to do that, the preparation and the cleaning ourselves. But a restaurant without the food that they prepare and sell is not going to qualify as a service, because I mean, you're not going to a restaurant and you sit down and there's just tables and chairs and nothing to serve, nothing to eat, nothing to drink. So they need those tangible items, those products, the drinks and the food, to be able to complete the service that they deliver. Let's look at each of these 5 characteristics that we've identified that expresses the difference between products and services. Well, firstly, is intangibility. Now, intangibility is pretty much, the service is intangible or predominantly intangible because you cannot, you can only experience it. You cannot buy it. You cannot own it. You cannot feel and touch it. Okay. I've used the images on the screen because the way in which you measure the quality of a service depends on the credibility of the service. And I think the images on the 2 images on the left-hand side of the screen, a couple of years ago, the South African rugby team, the Springboks, were in dire straits. Nobody even wanted to talk to them. People were actually burning their jerseys. They weren't performing well. And then a particular structure was put in place by certain individuals. The end result was we won the World Cup in 2019, and currently are world champions. And the credibility of the brand has definitely resulted in us experiencing them, us having a better, the general population having a more positive attitude towards them. So the opposite was true for Steinhoff and the people involved there. A lot of people lost a lot of money. So the credibility of the company and the individuals involved are not great. And if they rated that particular service, it will probably not be very high at the moment because of the experience that people had. If we look at the second characteristic, it's inseparability, and it's quite simply what it says. You cannot go to the doctor. I can't send somebody else to the doctor if I'm sick. You know what, I don't feel well, but go to the doctor and let him examine you and see what's wrong with me. No, you have to be there. So in other words, the inseparability refers to the customer who wants and needs the service, as well as the service provider who's delivering the service, must both be present for the service to actually happen. You can't send somebody else to the hairdresser to have your hair cut. If that person goes, they will cut that person's hair. Okay, so if you go to a rock concert, and I think we've all maybe have missed that privilege, because I quite enjoyed it, and every single opportunity that was offered here in Cape Town Stadium for when live bands visited, I was left, right, and center. I'm very much enjoy my music, and if I go to a show like that, I pay through CompuTicket or whoever a certain amount of money, which gives me access to to that particular show. I can enjoy it. The experience is what I take home. I cannot take the band home. If I want to listen to the music again, I've got to download it. Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay, so inseparability, both the customer who's receiving the service and the provider who's delivering the service needs to be there. In other words, the consumption and the production happens at the same time. Perishability. Perishability refers to the fact that you cannot store the product or the service like you would do with products. If there's a special on, I was running very low on coffee this morning, and then fortunately when I opened the newspaper, I saw that there's a buy one get one free, or buy two and get a third free type of special offer. I think it's Pick and Pay on Checkers. I'm not exactly sure. I can go and I can buy those and I can store it. I don't have to open all three and use it. I can use them as obviously if it remains within the expiry date. I can store products if I see specials. You cannot do that with a service. You cannot store. You cannot book a flight to go from Cape Town to Johannesburg on Friday evening, tomorrow evening, and coming back on Sunday evening, and then decide, you know what, I'm really in the mood to go to Johannesburg this week. I'll use it next week. No, once that plane is taken off, your opportunity is gone. You've missed your flight. You've got to buy another one if you want to go next week. So you cannot store it and use it whenever you feel you have a need for it. Okay, everybody clear on this store? That's why you see sometimes when restaurants when they go into quieter periods. I know especially in Cape Town, which certain restaurants in the waterfront are very popular over the summertime because there's a lot of tourists, and obviously during winter they're not as well visited by tourists or by locals even. And then they offer a great deal of specials. They want you to actually, obviously, they want to use, they want customers during the slower, during the slow season, and that's where you find a lot of specials. It's very seasonal in that regard. So perishability refers to the fact that you cannot store those services. They have deadlines. They have specific time. If you have booked appointment with a hairdresser for 3 this afternoon, you can cancel it, yes, but then you haven't received the service either. Just remember that. But if you have an appointment, you've made an appointment, your opportunity is gone once that time has lapsed. We also have heterogeneity, and heterogeneity is specifically with products. It's quite simple. You buy something, you use it, you're satisfied, and you're a happy customer. Or you buy it and you store it and you use it later. And there's not a lot of human interaction. Only interaction is between you, the customer, and you buying the product. But you're not evaluating the quality of the product based on that individual who sold it to you at the checkout point. In the service, it's a bit different, because there's a great deal of human involvement. The garden services, the house cleaning services, those people need to be there for the service to actually happen. And people tire. Later in the day, they won't be as sharp as they were early in the day. I mean, most of us are like that because you tire. If you have a hard day, a doctor, I'm not suggesting that doctors, late in the day, the doctors are not as professional as they were in the morning, but they, to a certain extent, the possibility of them making mistakes are so much greater because they've already worked for a full day. And that's why I'm almost always concerned if, and while I was in hospital in January, I could hear the nurses say, I mean, she's so tired. She's worked for 3 days non-stop kind of thing because they were short-staffed based on because of COVID and everything. And you start making mistakes. Little detail and things is missed, and that's the quality of the service. Therefore, is not going to be the same every single time. If you go to a restaurant and you had a great time, and you go back, the chances that you'll have exactly the same experience again is, or there's a possibility that you won't experience it the same again, because there might be a different shift in the kitchen on that evening. There might be different waiters and waitresses helping you, and maybe as a result of those individuals' involvement, the previous experience was great. The chef was actually on his A game, and he prepared the food properly. The waiter and waitresses, they were really very friendly and nice. So that assisted to you experiencing a good service. The possibility, because we work with humans, the possibility that the quality is not going to be the same every single time is very high. No problem at all. Thank you very much for letting me know. I'm just taking a break to read some of the chats. Unfortunately, I can't accommodate all your requests, like, for instance, the questions that we're going to get in the exam. I've included on all these slides some videos that you can watch, some short video clips. Obviously, in this particular case, because we're dealing with a different quality of service, it's quite funny. I think the one video is an example of what good service should be, and the other one is obviously a few funnies about what bad service actually is. The final aspect that the final component, a characteristic that differentiates between products and services, is the ownership or the lack of ownership. You buy a ticket to fly, and as I said earlier on, that plane or airline, or even that seat that you sit in, or the cabin crew and the pilot, you don't own them. You only have limited use for the duration of the flight of that particular service. Similarly, when you go to a restaurant, it's not your restaurant, it's not your chef, it's not your food. You only pay for what you have experienced and used during the time that you were there. Similarly with any other service. Right. Ownership. Products. You buy something, it's yours. You buy a can of cool drink, it's yours. You can drink it and then the thirst is gone, or you can actually give it to somebody else, or you can sell it to somebody else. Can't do that with a service. You can't do that with a service, unfortunately. Right. Any questions at this point before we finish the last part of this chapter?
Sure.
Yes, sure.
This is not got to do with anything of the chapters, but on the calendar it said part 4 assignment. Is that a mistake?
On the on Canvas it says, just repeat that, please.
Yeah, on the calendar it says something about part 4 of the assignment.
Yeah, that is a mistake. Yeah, there is no additional assignment. The one that you handed in actually had separate parts, and we realized that we're going to have problems if we submit them on 4 different occasions or 3 different occasions.
Okay.
That's why we've decided, yeah, the assignment that you handed in last week was the only assignment. There's no other one. And just to avoid any confusion, I'll just remove that from the Canvas page.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem. Anything else? Anybody clear what services are and how services are different from products? Any examples that you want to maybe run past me and say, listen, I'm not sure if, or give me other examples of services that you use. Every single one of you use a form of service every day. Share with me. I'd like a number of examples. None of that I've used. I know that you have your hair cut. I know that you are sick and go to doctors. Any other examples that you can think of? Please, I just want to make sure. Yes.
If you go play parts.
Sorry, Danica, I mean, it sort of broke up and then just repeat that, please.
No, so I was saying if you go play putt, like miniature golf or something, wouldn't that be a service?
It's a service that they provide, yes. They're in a particular business where people don't rock up there with equipment. It's more sort of you almost find it as a hybrid service. They have to have a layout and a few courses for you to play, and they need to have balls and putters for you to use, but you pay in exchange for that. So that means that they are performing that particular task of ensuring that the course is ready and that the equipment is there for you to use. Yes, that is an example. Yeah. Anybody else?
So when you go to the garage to fill up your tank.
A garage to fill up, Neelan, to fill up your petrol tank. That's I don't think it's called a service station for nothing in some parts of the world. You're quite right. It actually, although although you have your, just remember that services sometimes have a self-help option too. Like in America, you basically rock up to a service station to fill your tank up. You do it yourself, and then you go inside and pay, or you just swipe your card. I mean, in South Africa, we still have, and most parts of the world, we still have attendants who actually perform that task. But yes, that is an example of a service. Your delivery services, you don't have to go get in your car and drive to Debonair's to pick up your pizzas that you've ordered. They deliver it to your door. These are all examples of services that is performed by a company to add to the convenience of the customer. And very often it's used as a differentiating factor between business A and business B. And people sometimes choose that one that has that extra service. Yeah, but no, that's good examples that you've shared so far. Right, let's look at a very important aspect that we have to also calculate into how services are performed, as opposed to how marketing is performed, where services are involved, as opposed to where we are just selling a tangible product, something that has been produced, that's on the shelf that you can buy and use or store and use later. The marketing mix, when you are marketing products, are the four that we've dealt with so far in the course: product, price, place, and promotion. Now, the extra 3 Ps are involved when you are marketing services. We'll quickly have a look at each of them individually, but the 3 extra Ps to the marketing mix are people, processes, and physical evidence. Right, let's look at physical evidence first, because it's much easier for us because we can see it. Physical evidence has to do with what they call services cape, and that is the physical environment of where the service is performed. If you're going to a dentist or a doctor and it's a very dodgy location, it's an unsafe area, and there's limited parking, the lighting is not very good, it's always crowded in the reception room, and it's not a place for people to sit and wait. That all contributes to your service experience, and all those physical attributes contribute to the quality of the service that's delivered. I've chosen a very good example. You can have a look if nobody has seen that video clip. It's a very short video clip on Google and their head office and what it looks like. Just for the sake of you not going to use that that option to watch the video, I've included some slides. Those are all images that of what the head office of Google looks like and why Google has been rated as the company in the world that most people would prefer to work at. And the reason for that being is that if you look at those images, that's what your work environment looks like. You don't want to go home. You just want to stay at work. And I know that yeah, they are very functional. I've had the fortune to be not at this specific head office, but to be to one of the regional offices in America. It's jaw-dropping, I have to admit. Everything you see on the screen is there, and you don't pay for food. You don't. I mean, there's 24/7 when the place is open. There's always food available. Hot and cold beverages all included. I tell you what, I know some of you, and it includes me. If I work in an environment like that, I'll be tempted not to go home. But anyway, just to share with that, because that gives you an idea of how the physical evidence that I've listed in that particular diagram as well. The service escapes, for instance, the signage, the landscaping around the building, the parking lot, and everything adds to your experiencing a service. So that's a very important component that is not necessarily required for a product, but definitely for services, because people are going to rate them on the experience and not how the product tasted. Okay. There's others that you can add. It's been used in the images I've used. I haven't been to that lodge in the Eastern Cape. It's rather exclusive. I think it's 9,000 Rand per person per night. You see the big five and all the luxuries that you can think of is there, and obviously everything is included. The image second to the right, that is from my visit to the UK. That's what one of the food layouts at Harrods in London, in Knightsbridge in London, looks like. The experience itself, you sometimes walk away there and you haven't bought anything, but wow, you've experienced something. Also, your delivery trucks, it's been very effectively used to market nowadays. I'm not sure which company came up with that first, but usually, if you're going to look, you can see there's a Pick and Pay truck driving, there's a Checkers truck driving. I like the Woolies trucks. That's why I've used that example of the Woolies delivery truck, because they always have a nice message and just enhancing the fact that they are very much involved in the environment. But all these physical attributes and tangible attributes adds to your experience of a service. Then the processes involved pretty much refer to the actual processes and mechanisms and that is used and that's necessary for the service to be performed. If you are sick, you can't just go to the doctor because you will be in the waiting room until you find a gap. Usually the procedure is you pick up the phone, you make an appointment, you get in your car, you travel there, you wait, and the doctor attends to you. There's a specific procedure and order in which things happen. Now, some procedures are simpler. Some processes are much simpler, like a garden service, for instance. But obviously, managing a service like a hospital, for instance, is just a bit more complex. Okay, that's why I've used those two particular examples. And then finally, the most important aspect that makes everything work, which gives you all the pleasure, but gives you also all the headaches, is that of the people involved. And here we refer to the customers as well as the employees that work for the service provider. Because you have different you have people with different designations but all of that is necessary for the service to be delivered. Actually, somebody that has to be there to perform the service. A doctor is not going to take his own appointments, and he's also going to attend to the patients. He needs an admin person and a receptionist to actually take the calls and make the appointments, because the doctor is not going to interrupt his examination of a patient to answer his phone to make an appointment for somebody who's sick that needs an appointment later in the day. So there's a certain procedure that's followed, but also people need to perform these procedures for the service to actually be delivered. Anybody, any examples that you want to share? Are these 3 P's that we've added to the marketing mix, are they clear to you, where they fit in and actually what they each mean? Can you understand the roles that each of these extra 3 P's play in the service or in the process of marketing a service?
Yes, sir.
Everybody clear?
Yes, sir.
Were you very sure? People, as I indicated to you, there's 20 more slides left in this particular chapter, but they are not in the curriculum for this year, and they are not to be prepared for the exam. This is where this particular chapter finishes for you as a group. Okay, and please don't be like that. Don't just go and lie on your back and hope that the information will come to you. Okay, you have to unfortunately sometimes pick up that book and go through the process of opening it and then studying as well. Okay, it's a pleasure, George, all the time. Any questions, anybody? So, yes.
Last chapter completely, or are we still having more chapters?
I think if memory serves me correctly, we still have to do attend to pricing. How to price a product and different pricing strategies. I think that's also part of the of today's session of this week's program. Yeah, I don't think we've done pricing. I'm pretty sure we haven't done pricing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
In other words, excuse me?
The subject has so many chapters, like double every other module.
I know. I know. And that's why I think it's important once we've completed everything to just tie all the loose ends and try and pick up a storyline that links all these chapters. And that's what I'm going to attempt to do next Thursday, when we actually have our when we have completed the curriculum. So at this point, yes, the chapters that should be done, and I will confirm that in writing, so you have evidence to check up on. Chapter 1, we did the overview of marketing. We also had chapter 2, the analyzing the external environment. Chapter 3, we looked at how consumers behave and how they make decisions. We also had a look at the competitors, also part of your market environment, which you cannot control but need to be aware of, and the impact it might have on your business. That's chapter 4. We did not do chapter 5. We did chapter 6, which was segmentation and targeting, and chapter 7, which was positioning. We did chapter 8, which is products. Chapter 9 we did last week with the developing new products. Chapter 10 dealt with distribution, or alternatively called marketing channels. And we also did marketing communication, how you use all the different components of communicating to your customers, advertising, publicity, public relations. So I'm going to prepare a slideshow for you for next week, which will draw this storyline and not specifically just focus on one chapter, but to see and give you a clearer picture of how all these chapters are linked and how they fit into the bigger picture of business marketing, or to get you, basically to give you a proper overview of what business marketing is and where everything fits in. So it makes sense to you and you don't just see it as separate individual chapters. And obviously we also have done today chapter 15, or that section of chapter 15 that deals with the marketing of services. Everybody good at this stage? You all fine? Any questions, anybody? Anything you want to share? Anything that you're concerned about? Anything that, apart from, I'm not a medical doctor, I cannot take your anxiety away. I can just provide you with some advice, and that is to keep any changes to the minimum. Try and focus on the things that you can control, and let us and other people who are in a position to make those decisions that can impact on you directly or indirectly, like the impact that load shedding will have on examination and what happens in the process. Just to we'll provide you with information to hopefully reduce your levels of anxiety, because any exam is stressful. Nobody can say that, nah, you know what, exam is easy, I like that. No, it's the uncertainty. It's the uncertainty. It's similar to, yes, we're in stage 3 load shedding now, but we are unsure if it's going to be upgraded to level 4 by 2 o'clock this afternoon, because we cannot plan properly if we don't know these future changes. Similarly with your exam, you don't know what questions they're going to ask you and from what chapters and in what way is it going to be done. It's also your anxiety is as a result of the uncertainty of what you expect. So that is what my main objective is for the remaining sessions that we're going to have, to get you into a mindset that allows you to be more relaxed and well prepared. Unfortunately, the actual studying you still have to do yourself. I can't help you with that. You have to still put in the hours. You cannot lie on your back and hope for the information to come to you. Unfortunately, yeah, that part of the process I can't get involved in as well. Anybody at this point, anything else that you maybe want to add, maybe want to ask before we finish for today?
So I have a question that's a bit off topic.
Yes, Jessica. Janica, sorry.
I just wanted to know more about the follow-up calls after the exam.
The follow-up after the exam, the process after you've completed your exam. I mean, when you get your results and stuff like that.
No, I saw on the timetable they said that we should expect phone calls.
Oh, yes. That's just a measure they've put in place to ensure that people are actually not helping each other, because you can sit on 2 laptops next to each other and actually complete the same exam and then also collaborate in that regard. So it's just in other words, basically you have to be available for the full 4 hours, although you're only going to occupy 3 of those hours yourself. Okay. It's going to be done randomly. When you got the instructions about those arrangements, we as lecturers received it simultaneously as well. So anything, and obviously as we talk, I'm making notes of Danica of questions that have been asked, and I'll make sure that I get 100% clarity, so I can ensure that you have the best understanding of what exactly will entail. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks for asking that question. Anybody else? Anything else you're unsure of? Please, I mean, if something pops up, don't hesitate. If something comes to mind later in the day or whenever, please write it down. Remember, if you're unsure if you're going to forget it, and then ask me next time. Okay.
So, are you allowed to give past papers to us to practice or not?
No, it was a question that was asked in other classes as well. I'm pretty sure it was asked by various students in various faculties, because it's almost as if within that day or two that these questions popped up in class, a email came from management to say no old exam papers are to be shared with students.
So may I ask how come? Because obviously that's our only way of really practicing how the exams will be asked, because coming from high school to uni, things do get asked differently, and so why are we not allowed to practice?
Mika, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to guess how that decision was taken. I can, however, say that the format of questioning in your class test and your formal test that you've written is the format that obviously you can familiarize yourself with, because that's how it's going to repeat in future as well in other exams. And it's different for each module, obviously. Accounting is a different, the structure of an accounting paper is going to be different. But part, I think, of the reason why it was taken is because curriculums change and textbooks change. So, yeah, the basic concepts remain the same, but curriculums change. It's revised on a cyclical basis, like I think they do with in schools as well. Every 5 years or so, I think there's a change in the moderator, who obviously antecessors who set the papers and the processes. So that's something that happens continuously in education. So I'm not sure if that was part of the reasoning, but I'll just ask somebody if they know, because obviously I don't. They must have had good reasons to make that decision. But again, it's another question that I will have jotted down, that I will follow up with you.
Thank you.
Sure. Guys, thanks. I had fun this morning. Unfortunately, I have to rush off to another class. If you don't mind, I'll stop the recording now, and I'll attend to the questions that you've asked. I'll ask the right people, and